I'm going to show you how to make HDPE pellets in Mekanism, the mod for Minecraft, very, very simply and beginner friendly. This is not as confusing as it looks. What I've done is I've color coded our inputs and outputs here. Our red is the final product. In this pressurized reaction chamber, this is where we're making our HDPE pellets. And the inputs are coming from the green route, the yellow route, and the blue route. Let's start off with the green route. This is supplying oxygen into our pressurized reaction chamber here. We're pumping out water, and you can do this however you want, I will say, but I'm choosing to do everything with Mekanism. I'm using an electric pump to pump out water, and that is going into an electrolytic separator. That is separating water into hydrogen and oxygen. We're using the oxygen to go into our final product, the pressurized reaction chamber. So again, the green route is pumping out water into an electrolytic separator. We're dumping the excess hydrogen, and we're pulling out the oxygen into our final product, the PRC. Now let's look at the blue route. We're actually doing the same thing over here. We're pumping out water, and it's going into another electrolytic separator. But in this one, we're getting rid of the oxygen, and we're using the hydrogen. You could technically use the hydrogen and the oxygen all from one electrolytic separator. But for the purpose of this video and making it really simple, I want to use two separate ones so we can see what we're doing and when and why. So again, in the blue route, again, we're pumping out water, and it's going into another electrolytic separator where we're using the hydrogen. This is actually going into another pressurized reaction chamber. We've got our final one here, but this hydrogen is going into a second one. You can see in here we've got hydrogen and also water. So this pump is actually pumping it into the electrolytic separator, but also coming in to our secondary PRC. So we're doing water from the water pump, hydrogen from our second electrolytic separator, and we're also using biofuel. Biofuel comes down here in this blue route. I'm personally using melon slices, and I'm using a logistical transporter to put it into a crusher. Crushing melon slices into biofuel, which go into the secondary PRC with the hydrogen and the water on the blue route, and that's going to turn it into substrate, which you can see here. The substrate comes out of the PRC on the blue route into our final product. Here's the substrate here. Now, in this secondary PRC, I know this is empty here, but that's because I'm using a very big pipe. If I actually cut this off, what you will see is we're getting ethylene as a byproduct. So on the blue route, in our secondary PRC, when we use water and hydrogen with the biofuel to make substrate, we're actually going to get ethylene as a byproduct. And we can then take this out using gas pipes on our yellow route into a rotary condensator. What this does is it turns a gas into a liquid. So again, in our secondary PRC, the byproduct, the gas, ethylene, is coming out into the condensator, and it's being turned into a liquid ethylene, which we can use mechanical pipes to put out into our final product, the PRC. That all comes together then. The secondary byproduct, ethylene, that we've turned into liquid ethylene, the oxygen from the green route, and the substrate from our blue route all gets turned into HDPE pellets. I'm going to go over that one more time. Green route, we're pumping out water into an electrolytic separator. It gets separated into hydrogen and oxygen. Pump out the oxygen into your pressurized reaction chamber. On the other route, do the same thing but for hydrogen, pumping the hydrogen into a secondary reaction chamber. And then put water in there as well with biofuel that is made by crushing organic material. That will equal substrate, which you put then into your PRC. It will also equal ethylene, which you can pump out into a rotary condensator, into a liquid, and then put that into your final pressurized reaction chamber. So just using these three simple routes, that is how we have managed to make HDPE pellets for Mekanism. I really hope that the way I've shown you this is very easy to digest and understand. I do try and make these guides as simple as possible because they are complex mechanics that we are doing. And my goal is to simplify it as much as possible. So do click the playlist you now see on screen if you would like to see other mechanism guides. I have done quite a few of them. And also do consider joining my Patreon in the description if you need any extra help or if you would just like to support the channel.